Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Hannah Fedor joining us. We're so excited to have her here as an intimacy coach at Me Soul Happy, based out of beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. She's joining us today to talk more about her really multidimensional personal transformational company. I know you're blending so much psychology, energy work, subconscious rewiring, and so much more to the table. So first and foremost, thank you for being here, Hannah. How are you?
I'm really happy to be here. I'm doing great.
Oh, well, tell us a little bit about your company before we start, but we're going to dive into further in just a sec. But tell us a little overview as to the work, what you do with Me So Happy.
So the work that I offer, it helps people quickly come back into who they really are. And this has been a 22-year personal journey of self-awareness, learning the body inside and out, studying psychology. A lot of what I have learned, it's from personal study and working with thousands of people over the course of a couple of different decades. Really understanding the subconscious and bringing that into the forefront so that people understand why they're experiencing pain in their life, why they experience personal doubt, and then really what I noticed the biggest hindrance of people being able to move forward is they think certain things are their identity and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's their genetics and it's not. They think that there's this pattern of if this, then that, that must be who I am. And I am that person who I'm an educational psychic. I will help you not only understand you, but I've created a learning style that is backed through levels of science, that it's self-aligning information. So you not only understand it, you feel it, but you believe it in the same conversation. And so it's real transformation, and it eliminates the need for people to be in therapy for decades and
Wow.
never really scratch the surface of who they are.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to dive a little further into all of what you do specifically in just a few moments, but I always like to kind of get to know the person first. Could we just back up and tell me
Sure.
where you're from? Tell me about yourself, about your childhood, if you don't mind.
So my name's Hannah Fedor. I am 41 currently. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have always been a very artistic person. I literally grew up in a family where think my parents were immersing all of us into a lot of different things. So we all grew up playing sports, doing music, learning art. We all have a lot of talent, but
Yeah.
I grew up in a high pressure religion. I grew up in Mormonism, which there's nothing wrong with religion. There's nothing wrong with having a structure. But what I've learned personally is that what's missing in a lot of those organizations is the ability for you to actually build a life that feels good for you. Often you are told, here's a set of rules, here's who you need to be, and you're actually built for compliance. You're not built for authenticity. And it took me a really long time to figure out, why is it so hard for me to understand what I'm feeling? And it's because, to be honest, when you grow up in an environment like that, you have very emotionally undeveloped adults teaching you how to live your life. And so what that breeds is a lot of narcissism. Self-abandonment is literally built into the system. And so I noticed that when I made choices that were for my best interest, it was opposite of what I learned growing up. And that was very confusing for me because I was doing something empowering for me. And yet, a lot of times, my parents unknowingly, they were kind of, this metaphorical hand would kind of slap down of like, hey, you can't be doing that. Hey, that makes me uncomfortable. And so a lot of the choices that I made that were for me, it came with me feeling abandoned and kind of exiled. And that is not building a life that feels good. And in fact, it kind of disconnects you from your roots. And so my personal journey, I had a 10-year eating disorder. I noticed that in my 20s, I just went from one pattern of self-abandonment to the next. And I had all these various forms of addiction. And after doing a lot of my own self-study, I would go to doctors. Doctors would gaslight me and say, well, we don't really know what you're dealing with. You must be, or you must have this. And let's just put you on some medication. And I realized that the system itself was built for you to kind of circle your
Yeah.
own symptoms. It's not designed to take you to the root of yourself. And so through my own personal self-study, through unseen conversations with God, I went to massage school in my 20s and I learned Eastern and Western medicine. And I learned all these various forms of self-study and really diving into the psychology. I've created my own healing methodologies. I've created my own rapid learning style, and it helps other people understand, here's why you have the doubt in your life. It's actually not you. It's not your personality. It's not your identity. But if that's never been explained to you, you will, like Carl Jung says, you will repeat the same things thinking that it's your destiny. And when you finally understand the pattern and you dismantle from that, that's when you
Yeah.
actually break and find yourself. And so for me, I naturally moved through a 10-year eating disorder, excessive drinking. I was promiscuous. I didn't learn boundaries, healthy boundaries, until
Yeah.
like the last 4 years, truly, because those never came installed in the culture that I grew up in. It was, here's the set of rules you need to be. And really what I found was the root of the healing was through communication. And so
Yeah.
that's why a lot of addiction, it revolves around the throat. And what is really happening is your head and your heart don't know how to have a conversation because you were never taught that that was a safe thing to do.
Got it. Wow. Thank you so
So
much.
I don't know if that answers your question or opens the door.
No. Well, I know we've all had our share of struggles, and I appreciate you opening up about your personal life, and that's not easy. And let me just ask how you got through it, and then, clearly a lot of it has to do with your spiritual side. I know your dad was your mentor growing up, right? I also read you had some psychic abilities. I want to hear about this too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So to touch on the psychic abilities, I've always been somebody who felt beyond the system of high pressure religion, let's say. And thanks to my dad is such a spiritual person. He's a writer, he's an artist. He was one of the lead calligraphy artists at Hallmark. And he has really helped me lean into the spirituality aspect. What's interesting about my parents is they were dual opposites. And so, in a lot of regards, I got kind of that fluidity, the self expression, the artistry from my dad. And then my mom is like the opposite polarity. She went to school to be an accountant. She's very good at making decisions. She will show up physically. But that created this real kind of off balance dichotomy in my family. And while it was nice to have both pieces, it wasn't truly balanced. And so it created hyper extremism. And that's really what I see as a pattern in a lot of religious backgrounds is that you'll do something thinking, well, if this isn't working for me, I'll just do the opposite. And I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan, but I am. When I was 20, I
Uh,
decided, you know what, I've done all these things and I did everything quote unquote right. And it seems like nothing worked out for me. So I'm
yeah.
just going to be like George Costanza. I'm going to do the opposite. But what took me 20 years to figure out was that doing the opposite was still in hyper extremism. And so if you look at that like a wheel, let's say that you are driving your car, the tires on your car have lug nuts. They hold your wheel in the center, but hyper extremism would be like putting the anchor point at the very top or the very bottom. You could imagine if your tire's trying to rotate, it would go. And so it creates these really extreme highs and lows. And that is why a lot of people experience depression and anxiety and quote unquote bipolar thinking, to me, I see it as just a pattern. Because when you realize it's not the solution for you, it comes through real balance. And the way
Yeah.
that you create real balance is by it's trusting your gut and it's coming back to your own sense of inner authority. But if you have grown up in an environment where that blueprint of your life said, you don't know who you are, and we're not going to actually give you the tools to figure that out. We're going to tell you who to be. You've outsourced your power. And this is where a lot of people, they don't realize in a lot of regards, they're emotionally blind to themselves. And that's by design. And so where I help people is I help you open yourself up and I actually give you a tour in real time of yourself. And I help you understand the symptoms that are linked to these negative beliefs that are usually not yours, but you've, mistaken them for your identity or for your zodiac or for your human design. And yet all of these things are just patterns. You don't own
Wow.
them, somebody owns them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to dive a little further into, you mentioned how breaking common cycles of self-abandonment and seeing how subconscious wiring impacts identity, relationships, becomes the new form of therapy. We're going to talk a little bit about that and so much more. So let's begin.
So what would you like me to touch on first?
Well, it's up to you because you mentioned something about the new form of therapy, right? So the subconscious wiring and all. Could you explain that just a little further? What's actually going on in a lot of us?
I'll use an example on myself. So when I went to therapy in my 20s, I actually had a very amazing therapist. His name was Shay, and he walked me through what's called EMDR. And it leads you into your subconscious and it activates your right and your left brain. And so it helps you kind of dive into yourself and identify certain key patterns of your own thinking. Now, for me, it's unrelated, but it's related. One of my favorite movies is called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an amazing movie. It is about this concept of what if there was a service that could map your brain memories and you could identify where certain memories were stored in your brain. And let's say you go through a breakup, you could erase these memories of this person or this grief, and it could help you have a fresh start. In a lot of regards, it's not just metaphorical. We do that. Sometimes we block out hard times from ourselves,
Yeah.
but pain of that is still in your body because
Yeah.
your body is your vehicle. And so over time of going to my sessions with Shay and him guiding me into myself and identifying some negative beliefs, and then also with my background of body work and being craniosacral trained, where I do energy work, I kind of mixed all of this together. So I took the concept of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and brain mapping, and I mixed it with craniosacral, and then my study of subconscious psychology, and I help people identify these beliefs and we rewire them in your body in real time, and I help you detox it in the same conversation. And so one of the beliefs that I had was I'm not good enough. And that was when you go to EMDR, they'll have you rate the belief of like, how strongly do you believe this belief? For
Hmm.
me, not good enough, it was like rating a 10. Like always, it was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. No matter
Yeah.
what I do, it seems like I'm not good enough. And yet,
No.
back at the way that the culture was, in a lot of regards, high pressure religion will constantly keep you in a cycle of feeling like, well, I made a mistake. I'm human. I'm not good enough. I need to pray and I need to get God's forgiveness. And then I can be good enough again. And so you constantly are
Ah.
shamed. And for a lot of people, especially men, shame is their number one motivator. And so it can be very effective, but
Wow.
it hurts you over and over again. And so it's honestly the same system that's causing you relief is the same system that's causing you pain. And so once I identified this with Shay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually very successful at believing I'm not good enough. I'm
Oh,
very successful. So if I could just switch that belief, which who has the ability to switch that belief? Oh, I do. Who has the ability to change it? I do. When can I change it? Right now, if I decide to, if I truly believe that I have that power. And so what I've created in a lot of regards, it's a natural form of ayahuasca in a way, because it's self-aligning information. The moment that I'm able to help you identify a pattern within yourself, and because I recognize these are human patterns, I can see the level of control and fear and kind of gauge somebody's capacity simply by feeling and witnessing their energy, but also noticing the way that they speak. Because as a, not just women, there are a lot of men that are intuitive as well, but intuitive people, you can really kind of read between the lines, but feel between the lines. When somebody is in front of you and they say something and you know it's a lie, your body can usually tell. The
yeah,
words feel empty, or there's something off about them where
yeah,
it's like, oh, this is not, um, this is off for me. And sometimes we shoo that away and we'll say, oh, I need to give them the benefit of the doubt. Oh, I don't know. I should offer them more forgiveness. I should offer them more love. But it's this kind of patterning that will keep you in self-abandonment,
yeah.
because continue to silence yourself when your body's kind of saying, hey, this is not right. This is not right.
No. Wow. Well, I love that you're here helping so many people reclaim their power and to really build a life that's, everything they ever wanted to be. And it's hard, right? And some people feel, well, they're not worthy enough, they're not good enough. But this is awesome because it's really a high next level of transformation that you do, and you do work with people one on one. There's this 90-day program. Could you just share exactly what it is and how it works too?
A new program. I actually officially have not launched it yet. So this is like really the first time that I'm mentioning it, but I'm creating a 90-day, what I call a portal. So the portal is an open container where whoever is invited in and feels called to be in it, it's for men
Hmm.
specifically in this round. I'm available to help 10 high performing men who want to develop empathy, develop emotional range, understand where they're actually draining their own confidence, and help them actually come back into their body so that they can no longer have an abusive relationship with themselves. Because
Got it.
truly, a lot of people are not aware of their patterns in relationship. But when you start doing what's called mirror work, you realize what you're seeing outside of yourself is often the direct reflection of what's happening inside of you. And so something that I will walk them through is to help them actually reconnect with the part of themselves that kind of electrically got unplugged. And sometimes it's going to be taking them back to a motivator. But if that is the only thing that's kind of, it's not really working, but it's getting you by. It's also why a lot of men struggle with addiction. It's why they swallow their own silence. And it's also why a lot of men have porn addictions. It's why they will attract partners who don't
Yeah.
actually feel and see their true value. And some of that is you have to look at the way that our society has been built. If our society has been built by mostly men from a long time ago that were living in this extremism and survival mode, you have more of this fight or flight energy. You don't actually have balance written into the system. And so you can't really build a healthy
Yeah.
America, healthy world if you're making sandwiches with moldy bread. And so the recipe itself is what has to change, but you can't get that from people who are kind of sick themselves. And so this container, it's a 90-day container where each month they get a personal one-on-one session with me where I will give them a subconscious tour of themselves, and I'll walk them through this process of coming
Of
to,
how.
"Are you willing? Let me help you understand the pattern. You don't own
Hmm.
the pattern. Let's connect you with, maybe this is your younger child self at, who knows, 5 years old. Maybe your 5-year-old self felt overloaded at some point where you were asked to either stand up and do something or shut up and be quiet in a situation where you just needed support and love and needed to be held. And so when you look at the nervous system, it's like an electrical cord running down your spine, and it's through your brainstem. And a lot of people don't have electricity in their body. And so this is where traditional therapy misses the mark, because if you're somebody who was living in a dark house
Yeah.
and you didn't have any water and you didn't have any electricity, you would get hurt more often because you're
Yeah.
fumbling around in the dark of yourself. And
Hmm.
go to therapy and talk to a therapist and say, hey, your front door is wide open. You don't have boundaries and your house is dark and nobody's really there for you. How does that make you feel? And you
Yeah.
can express how you feel, but the problem is when you leave that therapy session, you go back to an empty house that doesn't have running water, that doesn't have a warm furnace in your heart. And so it's really what I've created. It's the mix of, I'm a holistic self-trained doctor, I'm a subconscious therapist, I'm a karmic shaman, I'm an educational psychic, I'm
Wow.
also an artist, I'm a singer and a rapper. And so I'm a lyrical alchemist,
Yeah.
reads somebody's actual patterns and human genetics in real time, and I will translate you back to you, sometimes better than you even know how to communicate to you. I am the only person in the world that does this, and this has been 22 years in the process
Beautiful.
of me trying to figure out what I'm doing, because this doesn't exist. It hasn't been reflected back to me, because I realize when you're a leader, you have to be the one to go first. And that's been terrifying for me. And because of that kind of warrior energy, for most of my life, I have functioned in that masculine energy. So, in a lot of regards, I absolutely have been one of the guys sometimes.
Yeah.
And to understand how they think, feel, I get it. And so I have often been that safe place for
Got it.
men
Yep.
with no judgment for them to be themselves. And so that's really what the container is. It's to hold them in their authenticity and help them understand why they're doing much better than they think they are, but
Yeah.
to really feel their own power, not just in a moment, but something where they're not trying to light their pilot light. They actually have real electricity. And like I said, sometimes that is going to be reconnecting them with an older version of themselves. Sometimes it's just they need to see themselves in a new way. It
Yeah.
will be activating information. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like somebody who's been living in black and white and wearing kind of
Like
sunglasses.
blinders. Yeah. Or yeah.
It's like you see color for the first time, purple, green, blue, magenta. It sounds made up if
Yeah.
you live in black and white. And that's where a lot of invalidation and narcissism comes in, is because when you have people who think there's only two options, they'll say, oh, I've never heard of purple. Green sounds made up. Can't see you. Nope, don't know who you are. That's where a lot of racism lives, a lot of self-abandonment lives. The moment that you can help somebody see, feel, know, and understand that, your whole sense of self, it comes online.
Oh,
Your energy
wow.
is online. And this is what's already happening in a lot of regards. I am just somebody who's created it to be entertaining, to be educational, and to be a felt resonance that happens in the same conversation.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you. Very powerful today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I know.
That's
I
okay.
just want to tell people. You said only you can accomplish the task of being you. Give yourself the permission to build a life that feels right for you, even if it means confusing or disappointing other people. Right.
Yeah.
All right. How can we contact you? Would you mind sharing your website, any social media pages?
At this point, they can contact me directly on Instagram. Hfolio,
Yep.
Hfoolio is the artist name, and it's my main hub on Instagram. My business account is Me Soul Happy on
Beautiful.
Instagram as well. If they're interested in applying early for the program, they can send me a DM on either of those, and I can get them the application. It starts December 1st.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. Looking forward to the next time we connect. Okay, Hannah. I'm glad I was able to give you the extra time, so we did do the first show fully. Really great meeting you. I can't wait to speak again.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff. Much
Thank you to all of our listeners, viewers. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.